That's it.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Unite Show. I'm your host, Kristall Onee. This is my partner and co-founder of Unite, Shine Kelly. Unite is our new health and wellness community connection platform, and you can find us at www.unite.love. So Shine is going to introduce our special guest for today. Take it away, Shine.
Yeah, Cameron, so good to see you. So excited to have you here.
Thanks, Shine. Appreciate it. Thanks,
yeah, so Cameron is the founder of the COO Alliance and Invest in Your Leaders course, author of Vivid Vision, which is how I first heard you on a Vision podcast, and The Second in Command, the mastermind behind exponential growth of hundreds of companies. As the founder of the COO Alliance and the Invest in Your Leaders course, Cameron is a dynamic consultant who has coached some of the biggest names in business, including Sprint Telecom and a monarchy in the Middle East. Wow.
Amazing.
Known as the CEO Whisperer, Cameron has a reputation for guiding his clients to double their profits and revenue in just 3 years or less. I like it. We'll take it. Cameron's entrepreneurial journey began at a young age, and by 35, he had helped build his first two $100 million companies. But his greatest achievement came as the COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, where he engineered the company's spectacular growth from 2 million to 106 million in revenue, and from 14 to 3,100 employees, all in just 6 years. Jesus. Cameron is not just a successful business leader, but also a captivating speaker. The current publisher of Forbes magazine, Rich Carlgard, stated, "Cameron Herold is the best speaker I've ever heard. He hits grand slams." When he is not on stage, Cameron continues to teach through his Second in Command podcast and his best-selling books, including Vivid Vision, Meetings Suck, Free PR, Double Double, and The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. Cameron is a top-rated international speaker and has been paid to speak in 26 countries and on all 7 continents, including Antarctica in early 2022. Nice. He is also the top-rated lecturer at MIT's Entrepreneurial Masters program and a powerful and effective speaker at CEO and COO leadership events worldwide. Welcome, Cameron. What an intro.
Guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a little long. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
No, that's awesome. You're very accomplished. And the thing that I'm most excited about is not only have you had a lot of business success, but it seems like your life is a really beautiful expression of joy and fun and playfulness and freedom. Like you're traveling. So give everyone a little, update on what you're up to and what's going on for you.
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, my wife and I just kind of looked at what we were doing, why we were doing it, and the opportunities that we had in front of us, and just decided to sell everything and start living around the world. And so that's what we did. We had a place here in Vancouver, Canada, which we got rid of. We got a place in Arizona that we sold as well. We got rid of our cars, sold all of our furniture. And for the last 2 years, we've been living full-time on the road as nomads. So we've been to, 23 countries last year. We've been to about 17 already this year. We've moved our permanent residences. I'm now resident of Dubai. For the last 2 years, I was resident of Barbados, but we just finished our setting up everything in Dubai. But we travel full time. I actually just dropped a link in the chat that you may want to share with everybody. It's what we call our vivid vision for our life. And it's how you learned about me through Vishen Lakhiani from Mind Valley. I crafted vivid visions for companies, but I also wrote one for me as a person. Then my wife and I designed what our life will look like 3 years from now. And we're reverse engineering every sentence. And we looked at, our fitness and faith and friendships and what we do for finances and travel and vacations and sexuality and use of substances. We literally looked at every aspect of our life. And we wrote down this 7-page document that we agreed on every sentence and every word, and we share it with the world. And then now what we're trying to do is reverse engineer every sentence to make it come true. So that's what we're up to.
So amazing.
I love it.
So cool.
Talking about living intentionally.
I was just rewatching your TEDx Vancouver talk where you were talking about this, and I had researched you a little bit as we were getting ready for the call and learning about you, and I really loved rewatching that TED talk. And I think it's so true. We come across this in business all the time, and I really love the way you are bringing personal life principles into business and business principles into personal life. And I feel like so often we segment and fragment ourselves into, okay, this is the way I have to be in business. This is the way I have to be in relationships. This is the way I have to be in life. And we're such fans of kind of creating these holistic systems that we can use across the board. And I think you've done such a beautiful job with that.
Thank you. I mean, it doesn't work to separate them. I mean,
Yeah.
my sister was just on another media interview recently for her company, and I sent her a note of it was about a 15-minute TV interview. And I said about 3 or 4 minutes in that she kind of had her stage voice on, her professional voice. And I said, turn it off, just be you. Like, because she's an amazing speaker. She's incredible content. She's been running her own company for 25 years, very successful business. And to try to put on a business voice or we don't resonate, right? So I'm just me. I've always been just me. So when I talk on stages or in front of clients or with family or with my spouse, it sounds the same. It's me the same. And that polarizes, right? For some people, they're like, oh, he's too entrepreneurial, or he's too ADD, or he's too, real. And then for others, they're like, fuck, I love that because he's exactly, what he is, right? I shouldn't swear. I know I shouldn't swear.
You're fine.
No, I was out in, I was in Abbotsford, Canada one time doing a speaking event, and it was kind of the Bible Belt of Canada, and I didn't know. I'm like, ooh, wrong, but yeah. So anyway, that's always the way I've been. For every company that I've ever been building, I've always really cared about the people, cared about the vision, cared about the culture, and probably blended lines far before it was popular. Way before social media, I was just including everyone in my life because that was just kind of who I was. I also grew up in an entrepreneurial family where both sets of grandparents were entrepreneurs, and my father was an entrepreneur. Today, my brother, my sister, and myself, we all run our own companies and have done for years. So I think that's all we ever knew. We didn't know that you had a business life and a personal life.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I feel like we've definitely really done that with our relationship and our life together. It's all just kind of a mix. And so sometimes we work at like, okay, it's date night, and all we're talking about is the business. But it really is finding that kind of balance of letting it be okay for them to be mixed and to support each other, and not to kind of have these separate boxes. So
it's funny that you mentioned the whole, like, it's date night, we need to kind of separate business. I do agree with that, by the way, that it's not unlike if I'm out with friends, they don't want to hear about my business, they don't want to hear about my company, they don't want, just like I don't want to hear about my lawyer friend talk about being a lawyer, and I don't want to hear my doctor friend talk about being a doctor. I want to talk about their passions, their joys, their insecurities, their fears, their passions, their bucket list. I want to know about what they're doing in life. And I think we as couples and in relationships need to remember that we do need to shut it off, right? That just like what I do is I shut off work at the end of every day. I'm done work at 5:30. I don't work Fridays. I don't work weekends. My wife and I really try not to talk about our businesses because we want to be able to talk about the rest of our life and relationships as well. So it's hard when you're a couple in business together to create some of that boundaries, but I think those boundaries can be very helpful, just like they are with the rest of our friends, right? I don't show up when I go out for dinner with my friends and start talking about my company either.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great way to phrase it and think about it, because of course, so much of what's going on in our lives is the business, but creating that separate time where we talk about the feelings about it. So even if it's the feelings about the business, but it's still his feelings or my feelings, and getting in that habit of talking about, the energetic piece or the feelings behind it, seems like a really good
Yeah.
that.
I had one of my employees years ago, and she came up to me at a cocktail party and she goes, "Cameron, you're boring." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "All you have to talk about." I was building at the time a company called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And, we'd grown very rapidly. We were the #2 company in Canada to work for. Like, everything was around this company, but I had no other interests whatsoever. So my default just became, I could have been talking about my feelings about work, but it was because I had no feelings about anything, right? I didn't have any other hobbies or interests or, desires, or I even dropped my bucket list. My wife and I both share our bucket list with the world as well, because the more people that know what we want to do and where we want to go and explore, the more they start talking to us about those things as well. And that gets fun, right? When you're exploring there too.
I love that.
I love it. I can't wait to get my bucket list going. Get it more clear.
I just added more to mine last night. We've each got about 101 things on our bucket list, and we're constantly crossing them off. Next week, I'll be back in Spain, and we're going to go do the running with the bulls in Pamplona. And that's been on my wife's bucket list forever. It's been on my bucket list. Like, it was like, fuck it, I don't want to go run with the bulls, but it's on hers. So we're going to go and do it. And then we're going to Iceland the week after that for 12 days. And we're going to explore Iceland. And that's been on my bucket list forever. So the whole like sharing of bucket lists with each other and then sharing them with friends, that starts to get life exciting as well.
Love it. So a lot of our community are entrepreneurs. A lot of them are focused around well-being, or at least have an element of wanting to help the world become happier and healthier. What have you learned around well-being in your personal life and while creating companies, and the importance of that both for you as a leader, but also to create environments where people can really flourish and it can be sustainable for people to work with you and not burn out?
Well, it's okay. So you talked about a lot there, like the not burning out component and then the well-being component. I'll try to touch on both of those. I co-authored a book years ago called The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs with Hal Elrod. And when we were writing The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs together, I said, my miracle morning sometimes is me hugging the pillow and going back to sleep for another 30 minutes.
Yeah.
His is like waking up at 5 a.m. and, starting with silence and affirmations and visualization and exercise and reading and scribing. And I do those things, but some days I don't do those things. Some days I wake up and I'm like, had a rough sleep. I track my sleep using an Oura ring. I quit drinking about 2 months ago. I've been really cutting back on drinking for the last 5 years substantially. I work out with trainers. One of the hard things about traveling full time, we were 23 countries last year, and some of those countries were multiple cities, right? But let's just pretend it was 23 cities that we lived in. That means 23 yoga studios that we have to find, 23 new gyms, 23 new trainers, 23 new grocery stores, 23 great coffee shops, 23 kind of circles of friends to hang out with.
Yeah.
That's stressful. And those that's hard to try to stay healthy and stay balanced and stay happy with that kind of turmoil, I guess, at times. So we really work very hard at that. We work very hard at pre-planning some of those things and work very hard at making sure that we don't slide off of that. So, when we go to restaurants, we choose healthy food. We try to commit to eating our salads first to kind of coat the basket. Like we try to not eat the desserts, cutting way back on alcohol years ago. My wife stopped drinking 3 years ago. It doesn't serve us anymore. Right. So how can we have fun and stay healthy? And so that's one. On the stress component, for me, it's recognizing that I'm never going to get it all done. Right. I'm never going to catch up. And I think so often as entrepreneurs, we tell ourselves the lie that I'm just going to work tonight to catch up. Well, you're never going to get your list done, because as soon as you do, you'll start new projects, you'll raise your goals, you'll buy a company, you'll spin off a division, you'll write your next book, whatever. You're never going to get caught up. That all you're really doing is avoiding the pain and relationships and some other issues in your life that you're kind of running away from. So we try to make sure that we do shut it down, that we take lots of time to balance ourselves and work more on the critical few things versus the important many things. So I think there's those little habits. And then my wife is very big into biohacking right now. And she's really like, we've got a new shipment coming in from the US. She's over in Europe right now. I've got a shipment coming in today of all of her supplements and probiotics and all these things that I'll, repack and bring over to Europe with us. It's just being mindful of those things as being priorities. And then lastly, I think it's also, again, because we're on the road and traveling so much, it's how do we immerse ourselves into communities, mastermind groups where we're surrounded with smart people who are doing cool stuff, who are, engaged in really creating better lives for themselves. So we just came off of a trip to Uganda with a group of entrepreneurs where we were hiking with the gorillas in Uganda. 2 weeks after that, we went off to another big event in Croatia where we spent a week with 200 entrepreneurs on a private island. We were at the main 5-day TED conference back in April. So we were there for, with 1,800 smart people working. So it's really committing to and immersing ourselves around those communities that really help keep us honest and keep driving us forward too.
Beautiful.
I love it. And in terms of growing a company, and what are some of the things that you found have been the most helpful and could be the most helpful to even solo, preneurs? A lot of our community are like wellness practitioners, or some people like Nicole who's on the call have marketing agencies or bigger companies. So what are some of the like keys that you've learned through all of your career that we can use as leaders, but that also people who are employees can use to make their lives better?
Yeah, the big one is really kind of documenting and clarifying what I call your vivid vision for your business looks like, right? Describing as a 5 or 6 page document of what every single aspect of your company looks like, acts like, and feels like 3 years in the future, and then sharing that document with the world so that everybody can see what you can see. It's almost as if you travel into a time machine 3 years out to December 31st, 2025, and you describe your whole company. You describe operations and IT and finance, like you describe it in its finished state 3 years from now. That's a key starting point. Another one is to remember to work on the critical few things versus the important many. We often get very distracted with all of the, oh, you need to be on TikTok, you need to be doing this. Maybe, but maybe I need to say no to 80% of the things so that I work on the core things that I know I'm going to get the highest ROI from.
Yeah.
I think it's about, we've heard of the term minimum viable product. I really think about minimum viable everything. Like, how do I just get it done and out the door, knowing that momentum creates momentum, that perfection doesn't necessarily scale, but the fact that I can get it done and get it out the door, that momentum that will help the flywheel. So it's those kinds of concepts. Really making sure that you take care of yourself as that racehorse. I was just coaching a CEO this morning from Colombia. He's got about 400 or 500 employees. He's saying he's not taking enough vacation time. I'm like, you need to detach from the business and treat yourself like a racehorse, and maybe only work 30 hours a week and delegate everything except genius, so that when you're working, you're showing up with really good energy, with a lot of clear focus. But often we can kind of hit this point of diminishing returns where we're just busy being busy and we're not necessarily getting a high ROI. And often that work that we starts creating disruption and problems inside of the company, instead of, again, staying very clear and very focused. So treating your body and your mind like a racehorse, I think, is powerful. Where else would I go with this? Certainly the ability to hire fractional and freelance people. There's people all over the world that we can have doing work for us at a fraction of what we pay people in North America to work, and they're quite qualified and very happy. And North Americans have this weird mindset that, oh, I shouldn't pay someone in Pakistan to do research for me for $6 an hour. I'm like, do you have any idea how far $6 an hour goes in Pakistan? Like $6 an hour in Pakistan is like $50 an hour in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Right. So it's literally like paying somebody $100,000 a year, but you pay them $12,000. You're getting somebody who's got their business degree from a really good university, who's living in a really nice condo in Karachi, an equivalent condo to living in Kitsilano or, Yaletown in Vancouver or Toronto or Dallas. Like, you got to wrap your head around the fact that the world doesn't necessarily have the overhead and the cost that some of us do in place. And we don't often need these 40-hour-a-week people. Sometimes you need somebody for 3 hours a week. So you could pay them $20 an hour in Karachi and get them 3 hours a week and have them nail stuff for 3 hours. And then they don't have to be bothering people in your company for the other 37 hours a week. We often in the past used to hire people and keep them busy, but they weren't necessarily getting us the returns.
I love that. I think that's a really great tip for, of course, seasoned people in big organizations, but also as people are growing and starting out. And we did quite a bit of that at the beginning too, where we would hire a full-time or a part-time person and kind of promise them this many hours, and hadn't really figured out what we knew we needed this done, but we're like, well, I'm sure we'll figure out how to fill the rest of the time. And exactly, we ended up spending a lot of time teaching them, a lot of time kind of keeping them busy, learning stuff and figuring out stuff. And then they went off to something else anyway. So it wasn't really a good investment at all. And it would have been, you know, such a just an easy thing, like you said, to get somebody just to here's these 3 hours, take it and go. And I think that I would love to use as inspiration for other people starting out, to just really remind them that that's just such a great. I think we get this mindset of, okay, we're expanding, we're growing, we need to hire these people and bring these people on. And instead, like you said, just, you know, start with a little bit and go from there.
Yeah, and I think in the early stages, companies need to hire people or have freelance people that are very good at project management, very good at delegation, very good at controlling Parkinson's law, right? That work expands to fill the space and time that we give it. So so if people are good at delegation, good at coaching, good at time management, good at project management, they can manage 12 freelancers working 3 hours a week each and get way more efficiency done versus hiring a couple of full-time people that don't necessarily have that deep domain expertise. And then they're also trying to show up at meetings they don't need to be in. They're trying to get involved in communications they don't need to be in. They're responding to stuff on Slack because they feel they need to, instead of that freelancer who's literally there like a sniper, only doing their core thing they're supposed to be doing. And they're not involved or trying to be involved in all the other stuff. You know, they don't feel disappointed or upset. Oh, I didn't get invited to the meeting. They don't even want to be invited to that meeting because it doesn't involve them, right? So yeah, it's kind of wrapping your head around that, I think, is really, you can get a lot more productivity and a lot more ROI off of your people in that mindset.
Yeah.
Love that.
There's some companies popping up that are sort of like marketplaces for these types of workers and freelancers. And that's something when I was in the visioning stage for Unite, what came to me was this idea, because what we're building is really a personalized recommendations engine, something where it can get to know someone. And this was before I really knew what AI was doing, but of course AI is going to be the kind of engine that powers this. But it'll be able to get to know someone and be able to say, oh, here's the yoga studio in your new city, or here's a great teacher, or here's a great massage, based on all these factors that we think you'll really like because you've told us what kind of massages you like, you've rated these people's 5 stars, etc. And so I started to see that expand into work, where we can have people and their values and their time, but also they can price themselves according to the impact that they've had with other places, and kind of create like a work marketplace, like an Uber, but for freelancers, where people can just do the things that they're best at. And I want to think of it more like if we were to redesign technology from the perspective of Star Trek, where it was just one world, and the world was sort of the company, and everyone in it was working together to make the everyone's life better, then we would want the best people in the best places at the right time. And so I've heard a lot of smart people say that this is the direction that we're going with work. It's very
it's one of the reasons why I spend so much time and have invested so much money over the last 20 years of being involved in different mastermind communities, is I don't have to be the one to know how to do everything, right? I have 2 friends of mine, Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, wrote the book Who Not How, and they talked about this concept that you don't have to be the one to know how to do it all. You just have to know the right who's who know how to do it all. And then it's making sure that you connect with the who's that are connected with you on a core values basis, and you know, the right energy, and so that it's fun to work with them, right? That it's not a drain.
Yeah.
Love that.
For a company like ours, where we're a few years in, we've got an MVP, we've got some revenue, we've got some traction, but we haven't hit that product market fit, and we're raising money. And it's just sort of the 2 of us and our tech team. What are some tips that you would give us, and I'm sure other people watching who are in a similar spot?
Say no more often than you say yes, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the opportunity is always to follow our entrepreneurial rabbit holes, right? And yeah, truly, like, it's really staying hyper focused until you do hit that product market fit, until you do get traction, until you do get that flywheel. I remember back when I joined 1-800-GOT-JUNK, you know, I walked in as employee number 14. My best friend Brian was the CEO and the entrepreneur, and about 3 weeks after I joined him, he was only doing about 2 million in revenue. He said he wanted to start a second company. I'm like, if you ever mention a second company to me again, I leave. Like, I will literally walk out the door. And I'm helping you scale this thing, but you need to stay hyper focused. When you get to 100 million, then you can talk about a second brand. So we, over 6.5 years, we went from 2 million to 106 million. I left the company after 6.5 years, and about 2 years later, he opened up his second brand.
Mhm.
So he had tons of ideas, and now he's, 450 million in revenue. He's had 4 companies up. He just shut down one of them. It's about saying yes to the right things and having, that's why your vivid vision is so important.
Mm.
And it's also recognizing that, we only have 3 resources. We have people, we have time, and we have money. And
Mhm.
our job is to get the highest return on investment of those 3 resources. How do we get the highest return on our people? How do we get the highest return on the days, weeks, and months in front of us? How do we get the highest return on the money that we're investing? And it's sometimes by saying no more often than we say yes.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
What projects are you working on, and what are you wanting people to know about, and how can we support you? How can the people watching this kind of refer people to you? What are the things that's interesting?
Probably the big one for this community, I think, would be 2. One is I just launched an online community recently called the Ops Spot, and it's a pure online community for anyone that works in operations roles. So it's like operations managers, director of ops, VPs. It's pretty much anyone that reports to the COO or reports to the CEO. Because I also have the COO Alliance, which is only for second in commands of companies doing at least 5 million or greater in revenue. Most of those clients are 40 million or above. But the Ops Spot would be one community for sure. And then the second is the course that I launched called Invest in Your Leaders. And that's the 12 core leadership skills that anyone running a company or managing a business needs to be really strong at, and nobody really teaches. And it's the stuff around situational leadership, coaching, delegation, time management, problem solving. It's the 12 core executive functioning skills. Those, I think the more that you grow your people, the more they can grow your company. And often as entrepreneurs, we're growing ourselves, but we're forgetting to multiply that by really growing our people. I had a CEO that I coached from 40 employees up to 700. He was at about the 400 employee mark one day, and I taught him one of these 12 modules. And he's like, Cameron, that's going to change my whole company. I'm like, no, it's not. It's going to change you. But what will change your whole company is teaching all 400 people this skill, right? If all 400 people know these skills, that's where your multiplication really comes from, right? Business is really, really simple. If you have the right people aligned with the right vision, and you give the people the skills to do their jobs, but most managers don't have the skills to be managers yet.
Beautiful.
How do you approach teaching people things when it can feel like, for me, the thing that comes up is like, oh, I don't want to encroach on someone's personal growth or belief, because I feel like that's a personal thing. So how do you approach it like that?
It's hiring people that want to grow. It's hiring self-driven learners, hiring people that show up every day wanting to improve in their life as a business or as a person. Most people in Gen Y will devour any self-improvement. It's the Gen X and baby boomers that have always pushed back up against personal growth, business growth. They've always felt like I'm only growing because I'm broken. Fuck that. We're growing because we're humans, right?
Yes.
Gen Y is all about growth. So it's really anybody 40 and under, they're going to jump all over the fact that they can grow as a person, grow as a leader, grow in business, grow their personal selves. So it's hiring people that want to grow. And then it's also showing people like Ray Kroc, who built McDonald's, said, when we're green, we're growing. When we're ripe, we're rotting, is to get them excited about growth, right? Hey, I'm a CEO of a company. I've built 4 brands. I coached the CEO of Sprint. I coached the country of Qatar, like the family that owned the country. And I still get coaching. The best athletes on the planet get coaching. Right. When my wife and I got married, we hired a marriage coach the week after we got married to coach us on our marriage so we could build a highly functioning relationship together. So it's really getting them to wrap their heads around the fact that we're not trying to grow your skills around leadership because you're broken. We're trying to grow your skills around leadership because you can continue to grow. The company's going to continue to grow. We're investing in you. It's why I even called the course Invest in Your Leaders, is we're investing in your growth. If we didn't think you had the skills, we'd be firing you. Right. It's that simple.
Nice.
Wow. Very wise.
Yeah. Does anyone on the call have any questions? And if you do, you can just pop your hand up here, and we'll have some time here. We have about an hour, right, with you, Cameron?
Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Wonderful.
Cool. Anything I know I saw a post about you, and you had done a unique personal growth journey. Do you want to talk about any of that stuff?
Which one?
I think it's some sort of plant medicine thing.
Yeah, I've done a bunch. So the two that we've done recently, one is, I guess, plant medicine, and one is I forget what they call it, psychotropics. So we did a ketamine journey with a doctor in Scottsdale, Arizona, that was an IV ketamine, and it was completely mind-blowing, absolutely transformational. I had tried ketamine socially and liked it. One night did too much of it by myself and hit what they call a K-hole, and was like, oh shit. It was incredible. I knew I was dead. I was happy with I was talking to God. It was the most beautiful experience ever. But then I was like, what the fuck just happened to me? Did I take too much? So I was like, I wanted to experience that, but do it in a safe setting. So we found a doctor in Scottsdale that does it in a clinical setting, you know, with anti-gravity beds and weighted blankets and music and eye masks and a full IV drip. So you're doing it in a very, very safe setting. And that was a really interesting way to just experience this feeling of connection and bliss and love, and all of the stress of the world just kind of like evaporated. And we kind of felt, my wife then went and did a session when I went for my second one, and she felt exactly the same as I did. And you're in almost this period of bliss for months afterwards, for 2 or 3 months afterwards. It's an incredible experience. And then we also recently just did a MDMA and psilocybin with in, again, a very safe kind of clinical environment, with the same idea of going in with intentions, and both of those were done just ways for us to have a connection as I guess a couple, and connections with ourselves. And yeah, so I don't say that I would be out there recommending it to everybody, but I think I've transitioned from the days when I was young where I would do, you know, LSD for fun at a party. Now I'm doing stuff in a safe environment with a doctor or with a shaman, and doing it for spiritual growth.
Do you find it's helpful? I've heard a lot of people say it's been helpful for them for processing trauma or PTSD.
I've actually been doing a little bit of work around that. And so MDMA, as an example, the result of doing MDMA isn't handling PTSD and trauma. It's the integration and the talk therapy afterwards that is actually where the breakthroughs come. But because of doing MDMA, or because of doing psilocybin, or because of doing ketamine, that opens you up to being able to do talk therapy at a much deeper level. So it's actually not the medicine or the psychotropics that is getting you the breakthrough. It's they're opening you up to feel comfortable with doing the work afterwards, which is giving you the breakthroughs. So I think it's important for people to understand that. And I've been listening to like Andrew Huberman has done a bunch of work on that. Tucker Max has done a bunch, you know, Tim Ferriss. When you start listening to what they're really talking about there, it's much deeper than just doing the actual, you know, you don't go to Peru and do ayahuasca and go, wow, I'm healed.
Yeah.
It's about that opening you up to then being able to do the work as well.
Wow.
Really good. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of something that I'm happy you're sharing that message. And I think that's something that I'm hoping will be more widely spread. And that's been my experience with holotropic breathwork. And I did a couple workshops with a very good kind of well-rounded, you learn about it, you do some, you process, you group process afterward, you integrate. And exactly like you said, I'm thinking now, like it was such a powerful experience. And I'm thinking now, if I just did the breath work, it would have been like, that was kind of good, but weird. Okay. And, you know, it had some good moments, but it was really the integration. It was really the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings, the messages I got in the process that then I had time to journal about, do art about, focus on, and then talk about and integrate and unwind over years, really, of kind of different talk therapy, pulling those threads. And, oh yeah, I remember that from that. And I think that's exactly like you said, it's kind of a glimpse of maybe what you've been repressing, what's under there, but also what it gave me was a glimpse of, like, you know, that infinite, beautiful possibility. We're connected. It's all okay. So it's okay to dig in, and it's okay to do the work. And even though that stuff is there, it's okay because we are supported. And I think those, if we can acknowledge those kind of two pieces hand in hand, is when the real growth happens.
Yeah, exactly right. And I also, and Shine, sorry for kind of jumping on around the plant medicine thing. It's become a little bit of a strange pet peeve of mine, even though I am not by far not an expert in the space, but people talk about, plant medicine is, safe or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, some of these medicines that they're talking about aren't from plants and nature at all. They're synthesized in the lab, right? Like LSD is not a plant medicine, and, MDMA is not, and ketamine isn't, and they still have very profound, MDMA in the lab is in stage 4 clinical trials in the US, is being brought back in for massive breakthroughs around PTSD and stress, and but it's not a plant medicine like iboga or ayahuasca or psilocybin or things like that. That would be more. But they're all fantastic. They're all fantastic to at least explore the options. And again, I think to do it in safe environments as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love what you shared. I never heard anyone say that it's the talk therapy after and integration. But of course that makes sense. It's all about what you're doing every day, not what you did once.
Yeah.
And are you able to continue to do that?
Well, and it's interesting, if I think back to the ketamine that I did, the experience was incredible, but it was then talking about the experience afterwards where the breakthrough started to come, right? Or where I was open to exploring and discussing the things that I'd maybe felt when I was doing it. And that's what's interesting.
Love that. Do you have
it's also amazing that we can even talk about these things today, right? These were issues that were like, I'll tell you, 10 years ago, this was never talked about in any business setting ever. And now every single business event that I go to, there are speakers talking about leveraging these modalities and leveraging these experiences for personal growth. It's pretty astounding. So it's kind of cool that we're actually moving to this. And also, as you mentioned, holotropic breath work, doing deep, like that deep therapeutic breath work is really powerful. Like I've come out of some deep hour-long breath work sessions where I'm in tears, I'm shaking, I've got full body vibrations. Like I felt my whole, it's pretty crazy what you can get into, right? Meditation. People
I've
said
done got into full past life stuff from that, and really, deep integration. I find the more I do the deep breath work, it's really, I can get there quicker and quicker. I can get in quicker. I get more clarity. I get more understanding. So it really is a cool muscle to use for me. The more altered state stuff is still a little bit too edgy for me. So I love the holotropic, where I feel I can stop if I want to, but I don't want to, because I'm doing, it's good and it's feeling helpful, but I always feel like I've got that awareness that, I'm in control still. So that's
love that.
a really nice modality for me.
Yeah.
You were going to ask.
Oh gosh. So with the vivid vision stuff, like part of our vision with Unite is this idea of helping people find those next steps, whether that's an uplifting piece of content or some sort of experience or a product or a connection or something. And I'm curious if you have your own vivid vision, not just for you and your businesses and your relationship, but for the planet. And if you wanted to share any of those sort of things that you see coming that you're excited about, and any resources that people might want to connect with, or you know what I mean?
I don't really know. The vivid vision concept is more of something that you can control versus something that you're dreaming about or thinking about or desiring. The vivid vision concept is literally a description, like I'll use the example of my personal vivid vision. I have a vivid vision for how myself, Cameron Herold, looks, acts, and shows up in the world December 31st, 2024. I wrote it 2 years ago. So I'm about a year and a half in. It talks about me as a dad, me as a friend, me as a husband, me as a lover, me as a person in my community. So it's all very much within my control. So I don't have anything for a bigger vision than me or a couple or whatever. I know that me talking about my concept can definitely change the world and can change the planet, but I don't have anything that would be like a vivid vision for the world that I could articulate because it's not within my control. So it doesn't attach into my concept as easily.
Got it.
So I need
Do
to
you-
get an extension cord.
Yeah. Do you want to share any parts of your vivid vision or bucket list with people that you think might be inspiring or interesting?
Sure. I mean, the things around just around the way that we're living our lives, right? Where we want to be able to be in communities and around people that are doing inspiring things and having inspiring discussions. And, I don't want to be having my time with friends where we're just going for dinner or going for drinks. I want to be going for hikes or going and exploring. I want to be, we share our calendar of where we're going to be in the world for the next 18 months so our friends can join us and can plan trips with us. We're organizing a trip to Japan in February, and we've got 12 friends coming to us. We're renting this massive chalet in Japan, and we're all going to go on a ski holiday together. And we just got 12 friends to sign up for it. And so we're doing what we call the Slummit Summits, and my wife is organizing those. It's kind of just being, again, intentional about our personal growth and our health. And when we share these things, it holds us accountable to it as well. It's almost like we can't back away from it because we've told people we're doing it, right?
Love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
Great.
that's so cool. I wonder if anyone has a question, feel free to jump in or put your hand up. And Cameron or Kristall, is there anything else you want to jam on?
Yeah, I was curious, and you've shared so much about your excitement and inspiration for traveling, and of course for your businesses and your projects, but is there anything outside of that that's really inspiring you to be involved with and to support and to build up in the community or in the world as a whole?
It's interesting because we've really left a permanent base. We don't really have a sense of community that is our city or province or state as much anymore. So that sense of community is kind of gone. I'm definitely very focused on my two kids who are 20 and 22, and they're at this stage where I'm feeling a time clock ticking against how much time I have left to assist them to launch and to really be these healthy, happy, independent kids. So I'm fairly myopic with that sense of community. I think we're definitely trying to inspire more people to, to travel and to see the world and to explore and to, craft their bucket lists and go do some cool shit. My wife and I are both very saddened and frustrated when we hear, we'll say to people like, hey, it's great to see you again. Like, what have you been doing last year? And they're like, oh, same old. And we went to a couple of good movies. I'm like, fuck, that's it. Like, that's literally been your year. Like, so I think trying to encourage people to do cool stuff and have cool experiences and decouple from things. But no, I wouldn't say that we have anything bigger than that, sadly, at this point. It might be selfish.
That sparked a lovely question. I'd love to going back to what you shared about being what did you say, second generation entrepreneur and inspiring your children. I have two boys. Mine are a little younger than yours. Mine are 10 and 13, and they're definitely, especially my eldest, I can't see him doing anything except being an entrepreneur himself. And what kind of things have you found challenging and rewarding in kind of, I'm sure you're raising them to be very entrepreneurial minded, whether that's what they're getting into or not.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned entrepreneurial minded versus being entrepreneurs. Yeah. 97 or 98% of the population should never run their own company. And I think
agree.
I think it's very, very dangerous that we've turned entrepreneurship into this cool, trendy thing. I think it was much safer in the 80s and 70s when being an entrepreneur was vilified and we were all greedy capitalists. And people just wanted to have good jobs. But I think people need to be more entrepreneurial, where we maybe find out the stuff that we're good at and we do it for lots of different companies, or we spot opportunities, or we, don't rely on government or others for handouts. I think those are good things to be entrepreneurial. And maybe we develop entrepreneurial skills, like we're good at leadership, we're good at sales, we're good at problem solving, we're good at understanding financials. Like, we need to be good at some of those things, but we don't necessarily need to be entrepreneurs. Yes, I'm definitely grooming my kids to be entrepreneurial for sure. The thing that I have definitely talked to them about, and this is probably fairly controversial, is the post-secondary school system is really broken. And it's really a thing of the 70s and 80s, where look, when we went or when I went to university, you needed to be the smartest person in the room because there was no Google, right? I didn't have a computer in university. I had a typewriter. Like when I was going to go write an essay, I had to go to the library. And if the book that I wanted to help me write my essay was checked out, I had to change my entire essay and come up with a completely different essay to write based on a book that was available. That doesn't exist anymore. Like my kids have been using AI for 2 years to help them get through school. So for me, I'm talking about the fact that university is kind of stupid. It's pointless. Don't worry about getting straight A's. No one's ever going to look at your transcript. Go and learn and explore and experience and get exposed to some cool stuff. But I think for many, the post-secondary school system is a complete waste of time. That if they're going to just get a general degree or an arts degree or a business degree, they'd be way better off just going and working and apprenticing. And my youngest son just drove 40 minutes today out to Cloverdale to work with some great marketing agency, GrowRev, and he's doing an internship for them. And he doesn't even care what they pay him.
Yeah.
He's going to learn a ton.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I think there's a little bit around that we need to have our, it's more the answers. It's more teaching the parents, how do they tell their friends what their kids are doing?
Yeah.
The kids don't have a problem with it. The kids all know it's bullshit. It's the parents that aren't sure what to say to their friends at a cocktail party. How do we tell our friends, oh, I don't want my kid to be in university. I want them to go travel the world and to apprentice. It's a harder discussion for us to have as parents. So that's something I'm probably talking a lot about that is fairly controversial right now.
Interesting.
Beautiful. I love that. I'm actually 100% unschooled. I never went to any schooling. And this is my mom here on the call, Kaisa, up at the top.
Awesome.
Yeah. So she unschooled all 6 of us kids. And really, we call it unschooling because we didn't do curriculum. We didn't do testing. We really got to live life and explore. And all of us went through kind of many career paths, explored a lot, tried a lot of things out. And it's really such a interesting process now, raising my children in a time when it is more accepted to have some form of alternative education now. And I really love hearing people like you who I feel like have a very strong sense of what skills it takes to be successful in life, with that kind of mindfulness of understanding what you are good at, what you're not good at, what you love, what you don't love, and following those paths. And I feel like those values is what I was instilled with as a child not going to school, and what I work on supporting my kids at, instead of trying to, what I feel like in the school system, really, you try to learn a little bit of everything and then you get to focus more and more, but you're filling your brain with so much stuff that I think is just so useless.
Yeah, I think that the average person needs to be good at researching stuff, not research in a lab research, but like, can they look up stuff on Google and ChatGPT and find information? Can they learn how to apply information? Can they leverage relationships? Can they build relationships, work together as a group, collaborate? Can they get 6 of their friends together and solve problems together? Can they communicate well? Can they, articulate themselves? Can they manage time and manage money? They're fucking good to go, man. Like, you're good to go, right? And then past that, sure, if you want to be an engineer or a doctor, then you will. You'll go down that path. But I think for many, they can learn way more on Google and YouTube and ChatGPT in a fraction of the time. And frankly, I mean, as Canadians, we're okay because university post-secondary is so cheap, but it's ridiculous. I had a friend who said they're paying $80,000 a year for tuition. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, you're a complete idiot, because you will never get the $320,000 for 4 years education. The ROI on that is 10 years just to break even. Like, your kid's going to be 10 years with no savings. Like, what have you done to you? You're stupid. Anyway, doesn't make sense.
I agree. I feel very strongly about alternative education. It's a passion of mine, and creating that's something, a future mission and project I want to bring to the world, is supporting more people to understand that this is really, that's what I tell people when they're like, how are your kids learning? I'm like, I taught them how to say, hey, Google, how do you blah? And then I taught them how to, click on the links. This is an ad. This is, and that's basically it. And really.
And by the way, if you handed your 2-year-old an iPad, they would have figured that out on their own in 15 minutes as well. Like
Oh,
I was
100%.
laughing with my kids. So when I went to school, and your mom's probably the same, we had to learn how to type. Or we went to typing class, we learned A, S, D, F, G, H. We learned the keyboard, and I was so worried I had to teach my kids how to type. And then all of a sudden I walked in and my 4-year-old was typing on a computer. I'm like, how did you learn how to type? He goes, well, they're right here. I'm like, how did you learn where the letters are? He goes, they're right here.
Yeah.
Like, we just let them go learn. So the key is to make sure that they're excited about learning.
Yeah.
My oldest son, 22, really struggled with the traditional school system to the point that it really hurt him psychologically.
Yeah.
But he is obsessed with the film industry. He knows everything about the film industry, directors, producers, who did what, the genres that they're involved in, why the films are good, because he's passionate about that.
Yeah.
But because for so many years in school, up until second year university, when he finally dropped out, he was told every day he was stupid.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. He was just in a system that was emotionally destroying him. And that's not a healthy place for 80% of the kids.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Wow.
Mom has a question.
Oh, Kaisa, go for it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. This is, of course, exciting. And the big thing is, how do we learn? Yeah. What do we need to learn? Mm-hmm. And feeling safe it is huge. And I remember I'm 65, so I'm an older person, but I remember in school feeling very uncomfortable. There's so many people there, so many children, and big feelings block our ability to learn. Mm-hmm. And we shut down and we go into survival. And we also have different learning styles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Kristall is a kinesthetic learner, like her dad, and that's different.
Yeah.
Well, it's incredible how she cut hair, she can cut hair, she can prune trees. No one taught her. She watched her dad. He also is a natural at that. There's so much learning by simply observing. Curiosity. I feel feelings now. Curiosity is big. Being curious.
Well, and these are the things that we have to hire people for as well. So we have to hire people who are curious, hire people that want to learn. And then we have to remember that when we're growing our companies, to bring the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic style of learning into our teaching of our employees, right? To allow, don't tell them, I've stopped telling my one son to read a book. What I am telling him to do is to watch videos or listen to books, because he struggles with reading, but he devours content. He devours it in a different way, right? So he would much rather go for a 1-hour walk and listen to a book for an hour than sit down in a room for an hour because his brain's going 100 miles an hour, right? So just remembering that all of us as adults are 15-year-olds trapped in adult bodies. Guys is a 15-year-old trapped in a 65-year-old body. I'm a 15-year-old trapped in a 57-year-old body. We're all 15-year-olds trapped in these adult bodies. And I think we have to remember that all of our employees are as well, right? Mm-hmm. Our employees are we all woke up in the morning, didn't love the way our bodies looked, wished we could be better and happier, are a little bit worried about certain things. So to care about our team too, right? We have to care about our employees at a different level. And I think that the companies that do care about their people, really care about the humanity and the struggle, and that we're all just walking each other home, those are the companies that are going to do well, right? Mm-hmm. But the companies that are trying to manage people and hold them accountable and get results from their people, they're missing the point. That's a very 1970s, 1980s way of running a company.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we can feel used because we want to matter. We want to feel seen and heard.
Totally. Yeah. You did a wonderful job raising your children.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, it's a story that needs to get out there more, right? And it is, to your point about just feeling seen and feeling heard. That is the 15-year-old. right?
Yeah.
The 15-year-old just wants mom and dad to see them and to say, I'm sorry, I know it's hard. This has got to be brutal. I get what you're going through, right? Instead of like, why aren't you putting your clothes away? Why aren't you? Because they're fucking having a tough day.
Yeah.
Because they're worried about what their kids are going to say at school, or they're worried about what that party's going to be like at night, or they're scared driving down the road, and they like, anyway, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
No, it's really such a key piece that I feel like gets so overlooked. And I'm so excited and so grateful that you are here and you are doing this work and bringing it to the top businesses. Because I really feel like there's sometimes we can come across a lot of people being like anti this and stop that and very frustrated about how things are going. And really, we just need to create the change that we want to see. And I'm so grateful that you are going right to the top of these big businesses and teaching these beautiful, holistic, fundamental pieces to nurture and support each other at that top level, and telling them the only way they will succeed is if they embody it and pass it down.
What's funny, like Shine mentioned at the beginning when he read part of my bio that I used to coach the company Sprint. I was coaching the CEO of Sprint for 18 months and his second in command, Jamie Jones. And when I was coaching Marcelo Claret, Marcelo also owns the Bolivian soccer team. And then he and David Beckham bought the Miami soccer team. Like, he is a CEO at one of the highest levels. His personal net worth is over $1 billion. Like, he's a very, very successful entrepreneur. But I was talking to him about humanizing himself. I'm like, dude, you're too hard on your people. You're drive. I said, you would never let a soccer coach be so hard on all the players. You'd have to high five them and cheer them on and praise them and, you know, shout with joy and drive them hard, right? But like, and he'd missed that. Here he is, the CEO of the 82nd largest company in the US, and he forgot how to show up day to day to just smile. And so I said, send videos to your employees instead of voicemail messages.
Yeah.
Send videos to your employees instead of Slack messages. Because when you come across on video, they see this happy, smiley Bolivian verse. And then when you go, come on, try harder, they're seeing it with this smiley face. And they go, I love you, boss. Like, let's do this, right? But if you just say, like, if I turned off my video and I just said, try harder, it feels a little bit toxic, a little bit caustic, or a little bit, right? It's just remembering, again, at the end of the day, we're all just trying our best. We're all just walking each other home. The last message, and I've got a jump that I want to leave everybody with, is none of this actually matters, right? None of what we do day to day to make money actually matters, right? The reality is we're all just walking each other home. We're all just trying our best. What matters is to hold hands and have fun and, you know, have a little bit of fun. Like, don't take ourselves so effing seriously.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh,
Thank you so
beautiful.
much, Cameron. This was lovely.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to get to share you with our community, and it always, when we get to talk to leaders who are doing the work like you are, it just inspires me. And exactly like you said, it makes me feel less alone in the leadership world, just feeling like there's other people doing this amazing work and having other pieces. And thank you.
And thanks so much, Ella, for the connection.
Yeah.
Just a few kids from British Columbia helping each other out.
Exactly. Oh,
Right.
thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody. Bye all.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. I just, before we close, I wanted to just add on to that I really, one of the things with Unite that Shine and I are so passionate about, and how we got to the business and doing what we're doing with our business, is we both had a deep passion to create change in the world. And we kind of looked at and analyzed all these different ways that people are making big impact. Tony Robbins, he's a speaker on stage. He impacts lots of people. There's lots of different musicians that have huge impact. There's lots of different leaders that have huge impact. And we're kind of like, which avenue is for us? Do we want to speak on stage? Do we want to have one-on-one clients? Do we want to make workshops? What do we want to do? And what we got so excited about, and what I really see Cameron focusing on, is we would rather, our favorite thing is inspiring and uplifting the people that are inspiring and uplifting others. So we call it, like, we like to light up the leaders. We like to lift up the uplifters. And for us, that is so much more rewarding than doing, of course, we love talking one-on-one and supporting people as well, but the being able to juice up a group of people that are going to go juice up more is so exciting. And I love seeing the way Cameron is bringing that into the corporate world and into the business world, where he's not doing seminars teaching every single employee. He's going to the top and he's really working this into kind of the people that are going to be bringing that message all the way down. And I love that. I'm just going to keep reiterating that, what he said, that he hammers into them that they need to embody it for themselves first, and then they need to teach, have that flowing down. And I think that is something for our community all to really, really remember, because so many people in our community, they're doing sound healing, they're doing beautiful workshops, all the things that they're offering into the community, these amazing offerings, and to try and take on those principles, because the reason all of us are doing those things is we want to have impact. We want to support people. We want to uplift people. We want to be happy. We want them to be happy. We want to help heal humanity in whatever piece we're offering. And remembering that piece that, of course, we need to embody that for ourselves and really let that trickle down into everything and everyone that we're touching. And that's what we're so excited to do with Unite, with our platform, with our events, where we're connecting people, especially the uplifters. If you're an uplifter, if you're a leader and you're looking to juice up and get together, like Cameron said, with other people that are doing good in the world, we are some of those people. Reach out to us. We're really excited to keep juicing each other up, because we know our impact can be so much more exponential when we juice up and encourage and support each other. So there's my final statement for that. I hope everyone enjoyed the Unite show. Please let us know if you want to be on the Unite show. Please reach out, send us your contacts. Like, that's how we got connected, like Shine said, through his sister to Cameron, and let us know who should be on the Unite show next. And if you're in Vancouver, come to our live in-person event, July 21st, a full day and a full weekend of just juicing each other up with many amazing offers, speakers, healers, wellness practitioners. So yeah, send us a message, come check us out. And anything you want to add? Nope. Love you all.
Love you all. Thank you so much.
Bye everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
This was so good.
Yay.